Remember ethylene, the molecule silently destroying your fruits and vegetables while you sleep. Ethylene does not come out of one food item and stop there. It builds up in enclosed spaces. One overripe apple releasing ethylene gas inside a closed crisper drawer becomes a biological accelerant for everything stored beside it. The gas it releases activates the ripening and breakdown cascade in every neighboring fruit and vegetable at the same time. That means one aging item can pull the rest down with it. That is why sometimes you put away produce that still looked fine, close the drawer, come back 2 or 3 days later, and everything seems to have aged at once. The lettuce is no longer crisp. The cucumber has lost its firmness. The grapes are soft. The strawberries have started to stain. The avocado went from hard to overly ripe, with almost no warning. That was not magic. It was not chance. It was plant chemistry inside a sealed space. This is not speculation. It is documented plant biology taught in agricultural science programs around the world. And this is where the story becomes extraordinary. Copper ions directly interfere with the ethylene mechanism. Agricultural scientists confirmed decades ago that copper-based compounds inhibit ethylene receptors in plant tissues, interrupting the chemical signal that tells living organic matter to speed up its own death. They are not freezing nature. They are interfering with the message that triggers the cascade. They are turning down the volume on the biological order that tells your food its time is over. The commercial flour industry has quietly exploited this exact same principle for 50 years to extend the shelf life of cut flours in cold storage chambers. Because when a flour stays alive longer, it can be transported farther, sold for more money, and last longer in the customer's vase. The economic logic is exactly the same as it is with food. If you can delay degradation, you gain time, you gain margin, and you gain money. The mechanism has been peer-reviewed, published repeatedly, and used professionally every day inside industrial refrigeration systems that help stock the same stores that later sell you food at the checkout line. Disposable ethylene-absorbing packets are already part of that world, and that is where the part begins that nobody wants to say out loud. The global food packaging and preservation industry is worth more than $80,000 billion a year. The packaged food industry generates $300 billion a year. It is a system built entirely on predictable consumption cycles. When a household throws away 30% of its purchases every week, that household goes back and buys 30% more every week. That repurchase rate is not a consumer failure. It is a revenue stream, built on calculated shelf loss, supported by the belief that it is normal for fresh food to die quickly, protected by the habit of accepting that half the crisper drawer will turn soft, wilted, or moldy before you get the chance to use it. The massive transition from refrigerator interiors with metal components to full ABS plastic linings accelerated during the 1970s and deepened during the 1980s, pushed by one thing and one thing only: reducing manufacturing costs. Refrigerators with metal interiors existed. They were tested. Then they were replaced. Not because plastic was better at keeping food biologically viable, but because it was cheaper to produce at scale, lighter, easier to mold, more profitable for the assembly line, and more convenient for the manufacturer. And when a design change cuts industrial costs, consumers are rarely told what they lost in exchange. Nobody told households that something valuable had been removed from the design. By the time food waste became a visible public crisis in the early 2000s, the decision had already been made and quietly locked into every appliance installed in kitchens across the market. Read that again. The interior of your refrigerator was redesigned to cut manufacturing costs, not to keep your food alive longer. And in that process, a 4,000-year preservation advantage was pushed out of your kitchen without a word. This is what 50 pesos of copper wire can do that your current refrigerator cannot. Copper ions work continuously in a closed space. They do not expire, they do not break down, they do not require replacement. The commercial ethylene absorber packets sold at checkout for 70 to 85 pesos. Each attack only one mechanism of spoilage and force you to buy them again every 30 days. A copper spiral attacks bacterial populations and the ethylene cascade at the same time, and it keeps working for years without a single additional purchase. You cannot build a subscription model around something that works indefinitely for 50 pesos. And what cannot generate recurring revenue is never allowed to become common knowledge. This is exactly what you do. Buy bare copper wire, 14 gauge, from any hardware store. The same kind sold for ordinary electrical work. Cut approximately 60 centimeters. Coil it loosely. Do not compress it tightly against itself. Do not wrap it around any fruit or vegetable. Place it open inside the crisper drawer of your refrigerator. Give it 24 hours for the ionic environment to establish itself inside the closed drawer. If you want to cover the entire refrigerator, hang a longer spiral at the back of the main compartment. The copper does not need to touch your food directly to work. The ionic field it creates inside a closed space does the work passively, continuously, and invisibly. And this is where the story stops being interesting and starts becoming expensive. What normally lasts 3 days starts lasting a week. Leafy greens that would wilt by Wednesday hold on until the weekend. Berries that usually develop mold in 4 days stay clean for 10. Cilantro does not collapse as fast. Lettuce holds its structure better. Grapes do not fade so quickly. What you have been trained to expect as inevitable loss stops dying at the same speed. For a household spending about 3,450 pesos a week on groceries and throwing away 30% of it, that copper spiral recovers more than 1,000 pesos a week in wasted food, 50 pesos in wire. More than 1,000 pesos recovered every week. More than 34,000 pesos a year, staying in your home instead of going into the trash, and then straight back to the supermarket. And that does not even count something else. Time. The time you spend going back to buy what you already bought once. The time you spend checking what survived and what did not. The time you spend cleaning containers with spoiled leftovers, throwing away soft fruit, separating usable leaves from rotten ones, smelling food to decide whether it can survive one more day or whether it is safer to throw it out. 4,000 years ago, civilizations preserved food with copper because they observed that it worked. A modern $300 billion industry redesigned your refrigerator and silently removed the one material that actually helped keep your food alive. The Egyptians knew it, the Romans knew it. Agricultural researchers confirmed the mechanism in peer-reviewed journals. The solution costs 50 pesos. It fits inside a drawer, and it lasts for years. The food waste crisis is not a behavior problem. It never was. It was a design decision. A decision somebody else made for you, for reasons that had nothing to do with keeping your food alive. The next time you open your refrigerator, do not just look at what is inside it. Look at what is missing. Because that missing material may be the reason your money keeps turning soft, wilted, moldy, and worthless before you ever get the chance to use it. If this changed the way you see the inside of your refrigerator, pass it on to someone whose grocery bill deserves the truth. Sometimes the cheapest fix is the one that exposes the biggest lie.